Hey everybody, today I'm going to give you guys, well, most of you are atheists anyway, but I'm just doing this for fun anyway. But I'm going to give you 10 reasons why not to believe in God. And this isn't a list I found anywhere. These are basically just pulled out of my ass. It could be, somewhat refutable by people who know what the hell they're talking about, but I think in the most part they're pretty logically valid. Okay, number one, why would there be a God rather than no God? Now this is sort of a take on the theist argument of why is there something rather than nothing. Well, why is there a God rather than no God? There doesn't seem to be anything, there doesn't seem to be anything that requires there to be a God. However, there does seem to be something that requires there to be a universe because the universe exists. We can see it, we exist in it. God, not so much. We don't see, they say, oh, look around you. That's the evidence for God. But really, I think that's a bad argument because it's sort of saying it's an argument for people who already believe. It's an argument for people, the universe is only evidence for God's existence if you already believe that the universe was created by God. It's like saying, this cell phone is proof that fairies exist because fairies built this cell phone. I have no proof that fairies built the cell phone, but the fact that cell phone exists is proof of the fairies. It's kind of a stupid argument, but I think, why would there be a God rather than no God? It at least makes a little bit more sense because we don't see a God. There's no, and by see I don't just mean see with our eyes. I mean, there's no evidence for a God. Okay, that's enough for that one. Number two, there are no good arguments for a God. And there's lots of arguments for God's existence, but like the last one that I talked about, they're all pretty much already assuming that God created the universe. They're coming from the perspective of a theist. The theists can't, I shouldn't say can't. I don't know this for a fact, but it doesn't seem like theists are able to step out of their mindset of being a theist and look at things from an atheist perspective. They already assume that God created the universe, therefore all of their arguments have that implied. Okay, anyway, number three. When you step back and take a look at the bigger picture, religion makes no sense. And I think this is true for the Abrahamic religions. There's inconsistencies in their holy books. There's inconsistencies in the concept of God himself. He's supposed to be a loving God, yet he commits atrocious acts and he creates evil in the world and all sorts of crazy stuff. Which actually leads me to my next reason. Why is there evil in the world? This is number 4. Why is there evil in the world? Some religious people will say, well, evil is due to the devil. Well, who created the devil? God created the devil, therefore, vicariously God created evil. Some Christians will say, well, we don't know why God created evil. evil just is, and it's part of God's bigger plan. That's a bullshit cop-out question. I mean, it's like saying, it's an argument from ignorance. It's we don't know. We don't know why God did that. He just did. Well, there's a reason why we don't know. We don't know because there isn't sufficient evidence as to why a loving God would do that. And the reason there isn't enough sufficient evidence as to why a loving God would do that is probably because God doesn't exist. My next point, when you break it down, omnipotence is a contradictory concept. And this is, there's all sorts of arguments about the omnipotence paradox, can God create a boulder so huge that even he couldn't lift it? The answer to that is no. God could not create a boulder so huge that even he couldn't lift it, because the idea that he couldn't lift something would mean that he is not omnipotent. However, the fact that he can't create that also means that he's not omnipotent. The idea of omnipotence is self-contradictory. There's no such thing as omnipotence. It's just an idea that theists have come up with to explain certain aspects of their God. Okay, number 6. Religion has always been used to oppress that which is different. Why would God allow that? This isn't necessarily a reason why not to believe in God, more a reason not to believe in religion. But it is kind of a reason not to believe in God, because pretty much every God, except for the deist God, is based on religion. And even the deist God, I think, is sort of a leftover remnant of religion. There was no such thing as deism prior to religion. So deism is based on religion. But religion has always been used to oppress that which is different. And we can see this throughout time. Those who oppressed blacks used their religious beliefs to oppress blacks. Those who oppress Jews use their religious beliefs to oppress Jews. Not necessarily saying that somebody is one particular religion or another. I'm not gonna argue that. I'm just gonna say that people use their specific religious beliefs. Next argument. There's no evidence apart from man-made accounts that show a God to exist. And this is pretty much true. Like I said, the argument that the universe exists only works if you already believe the premise that God created it. There's nothing that you can point to specifically to say that a God created this that can't be explained by other means, particularly scientific means, or also, other supernatural means. You don't have to believe in a God to believe in a supernatural creation of the universe. But I don't believe that. I think science has the answers. Apart from man-made accounts, and the accounts I'm talking about is, particularly biblical accounts, also, other religious texts. But the Bible is what I'm familiar with, because, living in the West. We know that these were written by men. You can claim all you want that they were inspired by God, but is there any evidence to that? I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it. I haven't... the only thing that theists really give us in so-called evidence is personal accounts, revelation, things like that, and those just aren't scientifically provable, unfortunately. Next point. There's no real incentive to believe in God. Well, there's kind of an incentive, but it's not a very good one. It's, if you don't believe, you go to hell. Which, if God is supposed to be a loving God, why would this be, just because you don't believe in him, he sends you to be tortured for the rest of eternity? Come on. Other than that, there's not really an incentive to believe in God. You gotta, if you prescribe to a particular religious belief, you gotta give money to the church. You gotta go to church every week. You gotta, worship God. You gotta, forfeit certain personal rights. There's no real reason. There's no real incentive to go through all that, aside from not go to hell. I suppose the incentive is to go to heaven, but where's the proof that heaven exists? Next point. Number 9. His followers are illogical, bigoted jerks. And I don't mean all religious, but the more illogical, the more bigoted, and the more jerky somebody is, the more religious they are. This is just something that I've observed. I don't know of any studies that show this. This is, it's probably a taboo subject for scientists to go after, but this is what I have observed, and it seems pretty accurate. And number 10, think for yourself. And this one is, I think this is a pretty nice way to lead your life. Just, don't just follow somebody just because they claim to have the truth. Look into it yourself. Think for yourself, and, you won't have to be worried about some invisible man in the sky watching your every move, because he's probably not there. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I'll see you guys later. Adios.